This episode is brought to you by the Sasquatch Flag Company. The Sasquatch Flag Company is a family-owned business in New England that builds hand-carved American flags from seasoned white pine. Each flag is hand-built and each star on the flag is hand-hammered and chiseled. No two flags are alike. They offer a variety of flag designs to honor the police, military, firefighters, dispatchers, and search and rescue personnel, to name a few. These stunning handmade flags look great in an office, a studio, the back porch, or above the fireplace mantle. They make the perfect gift for the veteran, first responder, or patriot in your life. Now, I love these flags, and I've been giving them as gifts for years, and I was a customer long before they became a sponsor of the show. I can't recommend them enough. So if you're looking for that perfect, uniquely American-made gift to give away, or if you want to treat yourself, go to SasquatchFlags.com and get your order in today. This episode is brought to you by the Fraternity of Excellence. The Fraternity of Excellence is an online and real-world community for men who are looking to improve in all areas of their lives. The men of FOE are working together to become better husbands, fathers, and leaders at work and in their communities. They live by a simple philosophy: as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Now, I've been a member for more than 3 years, and for me, I finally found a brotherhood of men that I was missing from my time in the military. Now, I love being around guys who are dedicated to becoming a better version of themselves. So if you're interested in becoming a man of excellence as well, go to fraternityofexcellence.com, or you can reach out directly to me to learn more. Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Steve Foran. Steve has a dream to create 1 billion happier people, and he's doing it one person at a time through his company, Gratitude at Work, which he founded in 2006. Steve helps leaders and their teams be happier on the job by bringing more gratitude to their daily work. He is the author of Surviving to Thriving, the 10 Laws of Grateful Leadership, and I'm excited to have him on the show to learn about the idea of grateful leadership. So Steve, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, John. Look forward to our conversation here today, too.
I am as well. It's a topic we haven't covered, and I'm excited to learn from your experiences. And I guess I wanted to start off and say, you've been doing this research on gratitude for a long time, and you've been teaching the habits of gratefulness for more than 16 years. Tell us how this journey got started, because it's kind of interesting that you went deep in this subject.
Yeah, and my background training is electrical engineer with an MBA, right? And we kind of crank those people out like we churn them out around the world.
Right.
And I guess to describe me, 20 years ago, I would characterize myself as maybe this self-made man, self-made person. I did it on my own. That was my mindset. And I came to this gradual realization. I didn't have a traumatic life experience or life-altering moment. I didn't travel somewhere and experience or see something, just very gradually. And I think the tipping point was our kids, who are now young adults, their first jobs were in a neighborhood coffee shop. And within 4 months of starting those jobs, working like 4, 5, 6 hours, 7 hours a week, minimum wage, within 4 months, their bank accounts had accumulated more wealth than half of the world's population.
Wow.
And that struck me, because I was thinking, you didn't do this all on your own. This is what I'm thinking, John. I didn't say that to the kids. We're so proud of them. And when I realized, I was really talking to myself. And it made me realize, oh my goodness, Steve, your life has been handed to you on a silver platter. And it just brought this enormous sense of gratitude into my head, my heart. And so I did some research on it while I was in grad school. And then I looked at my honey, I said, hon, I think this is what I got to start doing now.
So that's not exactly electrical engineering.
No, but do you know what it is? It is engineering. We're just engineering a different type of energy.
Interesting. Yeah, like you, I'm an engineer with an MBA, right? I shouldn't be in the leadership space. I shouldn't be, but it's interesting how we find ourselves here, because you you would think someone with that background like yourself would be all, it's all math, science, and and products and technology, but instead you find yourself in the human emotion space, which is very interesting.
It is, and John, you probably can appreciate this. The type of thinking that we learn, systems, just I don't know. I don't think engineers are necessarily unique in this, but we do have a certain approach to how we would look at systems, model them, and put frameworks together. I've done the same thing. That's really just applying those skills, and I think the other thing that, for you listening, I just want you to know, engineers, we do have hearts. They're dark charcoal gray, but we've got hearts.
They're there somewhere, right? I love that. How would you best describe grateful leadership? What's a way to think of it?
It's a way to think of your or my success is it is a contribution of the inputs of others and the inputs of self. It's not, we don't diminish anything that we do, any of our contributions. We don't diminish the contributions of others. We don't exaggerate the contributions of others. We don't exaggerate our own contributions. It's this balanced place of recognizing the giftedness, the goodness in life, both what oneself brings and what others bring. And so gratitude is a place that actually enables us to see that, and even to stand in our greatness, for you to be able to stand in your greatness. And it's a mindset, John. To me, it's a mindset. Leadership is a lot about mindset. I'm not sure what your take is on it, but
Yeah.
It really is a mindset of looking at one's success as a contribution of self and others. Yeah.
So you talk about a mindset. So if we have this grateful mindset, how does that help us live a more inspired life, a more satisfied life, a life of impact? I don't know. How does that affect us when we have a grateful mindset? How does that affect us as leaders, even in our life in general?
Yeah, there's a couple things on the research side. We know that a grateful mindset, we're more likely to achieve important life goals. We're happier, we're more optimistic, we have more social connections. There's all these benefits. Social science hasn't proven how all that happens yet. We know but all those mechanisms, we're not exactly sure. I do have some ideas, though, in terms of like your initial question about how does it help you show up as an inspiring leader? If you just kind of think of that, how I describe what is grateful leadership is, recognizing your own contributions of others. That leads to, this is even going to sound weird coming from an engineer, I think, but a place of detachment. Do you know what I mean by that when I say detached? Like not.
No, I don't. No, but I'm interested in your take. Yeah.
So when I say detachment, how when we have an idea, we love it so much, we got to make it go forward. Like in the plant, when I was at the power utility, I had this idea for how we were going to redesign the power lines, and my way was the way. I'm so attached to the idea, my idea, that I'm not able to step back and incorporate the ideas and perspectives of others to come up with something better, which we ended up doing because I was forced to detach from my idea.
I see.
Right? So when we're in this place of like, we're more likely to be detached. We see the contributions of others and the contributions of self, and that leads to being non-judgmental. When I am not attached, I'm going to be less judgmental. And I believe in order for you and I and you listening to be an inspiring leader, we've got to park the whole judgment thing. That's a
Mm.
key thing.
So when you're detached, you're saying, let the best ideas win. I don't care where they come from. Let the best, um, you know, direction, decision happen, regardless of where the idea came from. So is that part of it? Is when you say detachment? So you're just saying you're taking away the ego part a bit, right? You're saying, especially as a leader, I mean, our egos get us to where we're leading these organizations, right? But they also get us in trouble if we continue to push only our version of the truth. So in a way, detachment allows us to put everybody in an equal playing field and just take the best ideas to move forward. Is that similar to what you're talking about?
It is. So this whole idea of attachment, it as you think of your purpose, right? As you think of your purpose, I believe that is the thing to be attached to.
Mm,
Like, think of the notion: would you want to live a long life or a shorter life?
mm,
A healthier life or an unhealthier life? If you could detach, like, think as a human, if you could detach from that, what if living a shorter, unhealthier life helped you live your purpose, live out your
mm,
purpose? So this idea of attachment is being attached to the highest ideal, the highest goal. So if that utility pole design, if that was, by being so attached to that, the only reason I want to do that is if it leads me further to my end purpose in life, whatever I think that happens to be. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think, for example, this podcast is the designed to, build a world with better bosses, right? And so, but I don't say that I have the best ideas and the best way to do it. I rely on the guests that bring in, all these different facets and ideas. And so, as long as the goal, which is to build a world with better bosses, is fulfilled, then I'm happy to have people like you on the show that bring a fresh perspective on that.
Right. So there's something to be attached to. So
Yeah,
if bringing this guest or not having this guest, so as we think of, think of to be inspiring,
yeah,
when we are attached to our higher purpose, detached from any of the other things in life that can get in the way, draw the attention of our ego to, and it's not that there's anything wrong with our ego, and but to just be able to notice it and see it. I think for me, it serves me, well. And it's not easy too. I'm not here saying, oh yeah, I always live this higher ideal every
yeah,
single moment of
yeah.
my life, right? Like this week, tonight, my grandson's supposed to come over. I forgot that I had the conversation with him, and I got to apologize to him when I see him tonight. I was supposed to pick him up at school, and I booked other things into it.
Mm,
So I'm going to own that. Yeah.
yeah, interesting. I like it. I like it. It's definitely something to think about a little deeper here. So your book that I want to kind of dive into that a little bit. It's called "Surviving to Thriving: The 10 Laws of Grateful Leadership." Um, when you wrote this book, what was the big idea that you wanted to get out into the world, and who was the audience that you wanted to get it to?
Yeah. The audience is the big idea. And I I thought I knew what the big idea is when I started writing it.
Yeah.
And it was after I published it and my dad said, I'm gonna start a gratitude practice. I realized that was really the big idea,
Mm,
because gratitude is a game changer for living a fulfilled life, where life feels like a playground.
mm,
And but really the big idea is developing a practice around it so that you can do that. And we live in the most prosperous society. We live in the most prosperous times in human history.
Yeah.
And, I'm looking at the global happiness reports. The Western world is leading for the first time in history a decline,
Mm.
predicting a decline in global happiness, and we in the West are leading it. And I can't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I think you're right. Kind of going back to your mindset is, you could say, we have all these struggles. We post COVID, we've had all this change. We've got AI coming. We've got politics have gotten much more vicious, and social media is tearing us apart, and we feel lonelier than ever. And there's all these things you could point to say how terrible life is. But think about how the kind of lives that we live. Sometimes you hear the expression first world problems. We exist in a time in history where there is a lot of peace, and there is a lot of prosperity. And so I think like you said, it's a sort of, how do you look at it? Do you look at it from a grateful perspective of, wow, look at all I have this morning, or do you look at it, all the things that the news wants you to say is, you should be worried about, and I think you're on to something that's really important. It's this idea of, how do you look at your world, and what perspective do you look at it with?
It truly is. And gratitude is this perspective of finding the good. Where's the
Mm,
good here?
yeah.
Because I talk about what I call it, the unrelenting force in the book. And it is constantly at work, at you, at me, our friends, you listening, or you watching. And it is pulling you back to a place of feeling like life is like a battleground. And it is, the biggest piece of it is what psychologists call negative attribution bias, which is
Yes.
our
Yes.
fixation on the
Yes.
negative.
Yeah.
And so when we expose ourselves to that all the time, guess what happens? That will dominate our mindset, and we will have a negative bias, and we will believe that things are worse off and all these things, when in fact the opposite is actually true.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. And that's part of our human nature. Like, that kept us alive for all these,
Surface
years, is that we look out for the tiger lurking in the dark, or what could kill us, what could get us to where we're isolated from society, these things we worry about, right? And it's in who we are. But when we recognize that we have that bias, right, then we know we can sort of turn that off when we get those thoughts. And so I think what you're saying is, when we take a lens of gratitude, it helps kind of dial back that bias a little bit.
It does, and we can be aware of it. That's the biggest thing that you said
Mm,
there, John. I think it is I don't think you or I have the power to turn that negative attribution bias off in our. We just don't have that.
yeah.
Maybe some people do, but it's to be aware that we have it. So that I was at a conference yesterday, and I talked about this negative attribution bias, and then I asked folks, imagine that you just got a text right now, and I know you wouldn't check it because you're in this, right? And it's your boss, and your
Mm,
boss says, I need to talk to you right away. Give me a call. What is the first thing that goes through your mind? We immediately go to the negative, and our
yeah.
body actually responds. The physiological response is the same as that tiger that you just talked about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all it is, your boss wants to call and tell you, great job, I'm going to give you a raise. But we just catastrophize it.
Yes, yes, always. And that leads to a lot of anxiety. People, I know depression, anxiety are big problems. And I think anxiety is the one about worrying about the future, worrying about what's next and what can happen. And like you said, that text comes in, you start worrying, like, oh, what is that? What now? But it could be something really good, We always take that negative bias. Interesting.
And John, your point, though, it is just worth reiterating again. Know that we have it. And so that you can, when it happens, when it surfaces, when it presents itself, there I'm reacting. This is this is the unrelenting force at work. And the
Yeah.
more you do that, the quicker you get at noticing it. At least that's what I've noticed as I've been doing it. I notice myself, I catch myself quicker and more often too. So
I like that a lot. In the book, you talk about the 4 mindsets of a leader. I wanted to ask you about that. So what are those mindsets?
they go from surviving to thriving.
Okay.
Surviving, life is a battleground. Striving, life is overwhelming. It's overwhelming hard work. Arriving is where life is good, and thriving, life is a playground. Battleground to playground. And you and I think all of us, we move between those mindsets at any point in the day as things are happening, as we're, not stepping back, detaching to be able to realize and make sense of the world. And gratitude is a tool that's going to help you and I spend more time in that thriving mindset.
Give us like a real world, or maybe just an example of what it means to have a gratitude mindset in a given day. So like I run my own business. I came in this morning, we were talking before the show started. I'm going on a conference next week, and then I'm going on vacation after that. So I've got a lot of things on my mind, all the things I got to get done. And so I'm in action mode right now, right? So I got this interview to do, and then I'm in action, right? And I'm not thinking gratitude. I'm not thinking surviving, or I'm not thinking any of that. I'm just like, I got all this in my mind that I have to do. How would gratitude help me if I came in this morning and thought about and incorporated gratitude in my day? How would have that been different than kind of the anxiety I have, all the things I've got to get done today?
Yeah. When I was writing my book in 2018, we got news that 4 days after our son's 28th birthday, he was going in for a full hip replacement.
Oh, wow.
Right. And, there wasn't an accident. It's just a weird thing. And he's perfectly fine now, got his hip replaced. And in fact, talking to the nurses there, they said, oh, yeah, we usually get a spring chicken about once a month. And leading up to his surgery, I'm trying to write my book, I'm trying to run my business, trying to live a life. My mind would go places, John. I couldn't even speak the things I was thinking. Like, I can share them now.
Yeah.
But I was thinking things like, what if they just botch his surgery and he is in more pain and like more, that has a lower quality of life as a result of it? What if he bleeds out on the table? It's, you can almost say totally irrational.
Yeah.
This is the unrelenting force, right? And I couldn't tell Linda this. I couldn't speak that. And so I'm writing my book at this time. So imagine the distraction this is to my life.
Yeah.
And you know what I said? Hold it. What am I grateful for in this situation? And I pulled out my pen and I started writing. I'm grateful that the surgeon that's going to do his surgery, done this thousands of times, one of the best in the country, that Nick was able to schedule the surgery. We got long wait times. He was able to schedule it conveniently because he was finishing up school to make it work for him. I'm grateful that he's no longer going to be in pain. I'm grateful that his physical health is in such a way that he's going to recover really easily. I'm grateful that his attitude is one of solution. He's gone out, he's got himself the walkers, assistive aids he's going to need. I'm grateful for his wife, Kelsey, who's going to be there to support him. I'm grateful for this hip technology that is advancing so much. I mean, he's probably going to need another one, but maybe just one. I read, and then I took that list and I put it up on my computer. I still have it in my office here. I look at that list And it's like taking a deep breath, John.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I would, you're someone could say, Steve, that's ridiculous thinking he's going to die getting a hip replaced. I know, but that's what I was doing. But
Yeah.
gratitude, that tool, that simple, okay, I'm able to make sense of this now. It didn't, I'm not glad he had his hip replaced, right? But the resources that it enabled me to tap into. So I was able to find the good there. Is that a good example for you? I mean, I use that one a lot. It was just very powerful for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic, and I think you're right. Is it a conscious choice that we is it something that we do every morning? Is it something that, or is it just in the moment where we feel those, those thoughts creeping in? Because that's what I was just kind of talking about. Or the idea is it's something that, like, first thing in the morning we should think about all the things we're happy or grateful for, or is it something more in the moment where you get stuck and having those, you feel those dark thoughts coming in, you're like, I need to take a break here, I need to back up and think differently. I'm just curious,
Yes,
the process.
it's it's both.
Okay.
So the big idea in the book, develop a gratitude practice.
Hmm.
Um, Two big habits I promote: making a list. Don't just think about it, record it. The extra, the kinetic, the movement, physical sense involved in it, it has a greater impact. Make a list. And signs right now, doesn't matter whether it's morning, noon, night, whatever works for you. And I couldn't tell you the last time I went a day without making a list, probably 13, 14, 15 years. And 10 years ago, I tripped into a second habit, which is a game changer: consume other people's gratitudes, read and listen to what other people are grateful for. It's like thinking of tuning into the good news, the news about the good in the
Yeah,
world, right? And just read or listen to what others are grateful for. So,
I love that idea, and I sense myself doing that as well. I like that idea because I was thinking about this morning where I've got a lot of things on my plate, and as I mentioned, and a lot of anxiety about what's happening over the next 3 weeks with my business and my travel and all that. But then my son, who's in the Navy, is in Norway right now, and he's sending me pictures of what he's doing today in Norway, and I'm like, that's so cool that he's in Norway. And my wife, who's a teacher, today's her last day of school for the summer, and she's having a party today with all of her children. And I'm like, so, like I said, you say you take the gratitude on for others that are experiencing, and it's kind of like, yeah, enjoying sort of living vicariously through their experiences today, right?
it does. And when you tell stories, I know you like to tell stories.
Yes.
When you tell your story, the lesson that you are illustrating for me, you're doing it in a way, but you're not saying, Steve, you should do this.
Yeah.
You are inspiring Steve to connect with your story and learn from it and take it on my own. And when we read someone else's gratitudes or consume other people's gratitudes, no one is saying you should be grateful for those peas. There's people in the world that don't have them. Just eat your supper and be
Right.
grateful. That doesn't work, right?
Right.
So shared experiences are really, really powerful, and gratitude shared experiences. It's been a game changer for me, John.
Yeah, I love it. What When you do this, when you have you take a grateful mindset, you become a grateful leader, how does that change you in terms of what's your life like when you are more grateful?
It, for me, just a greater sense of calm, of feeling like, literally feeling like life is a playground.
Mm,
Prior to this whole gratitude, I was a positive person. I was. It wasn't like I went from this to the, like, there wasn't the, but it totally changed how I make sense of the world. I would, and being less judgmental. I would go from the panhandler, get a job. You want money? You get a job.
mm,
To realizing, man, that could be like, what separates us? Who knows?
yeah.
I've been just so fortunate. to offer some. I now have a policy. If somebody asks me for money, you're getting some or everything that I've got in my pocket.
Mm.
Just a response and gratitude. And, that's my experience. The science, it tells us some of these similar things: happier, more connected, just
Mm.
feeling a greater sense of life satisfaction. And that can be really hard when you're dealing with a lot of crap too, right?
Mm.
And so I don't ever tell someone you should be grateful, but just when you've got dealing with a bunch of crap, like me when Nick was having his surgery done, just I think it serves us well to ask the question, where's the good here? What might I be grateful for? And to me, it was like taking a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. Um, you've got something on your website called Perpetual Gratitude. What is that?
It is one of the things. Gratitude is it's simple, but it's not easy. So one of the ways you can keep gratitude alive, I've got a year-long program where once a week you get a video with a story. I love stories too, with a story and a point and a challenge. And it's really meant for organizations that want to really embrace and infuse gratitude within their culture, within their organization, where people get a weekly reminder. It's just a bit of a nudge to help them
Mm.
with their gratitude practice and a practical tool that they can use in their workplace.
I love it. I love it. And that's on the website. And
That's on the website.
all right. What final message would you like to leave with our listeners today?
Gratitude is simple. It's not always easy because life gets in the way.
Mm.
You've got trade shows you got to prepare for and then going on vacation. Like you, John, it happens.
Yeah.
And like this, so find some trigger or an accountability partner who can help you with your gratitude practice. So build a gratitude practice. If you sign up for the daily gratitudes on our website, you'll get an email from me 5 days a week, each weekday morning. That can be a nudge for you just to keep your gratitude practice alive.
I love it. So reminders, having someone to be accountable with, all these things can help us to stay on track
Yeah.
with a grateful mindset versus a negative mindset or a woe is me mindset. So
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic. So this is great, Steve. How can people find out more about you, your services, and your book?
Oh, thanks. So thanks, John. Our website, gratitudeatwork.ca, and happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. Just send me a LinkedIn connection, and happy to connect with you there as well too.
Fantastic. And we'll go ahead and put links in the show notes for those resources. And I highly do encourage you, leaders, as you're listening into this, to think about what Steve is talking about with respect to gratitude. And if it's something that's really resonating with you, definitely reach out to him. Go on the website, get on the daily email, and kind of remind you that to stay on the right track with respect to gratitude. Steve, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing this is a great perspective. It's given us a lot to think about. And I appreciate your time today and sharing all this information.
John, I appreciate you inviting me on the show. This is your show. Thank you very much. You're a gracious host.
Well, thanks again. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.